Obviously, we all know that Amber has passed, and it's pretty inconceivable for everybody involved. And the reason that I'm making this video is just to clarify and represent what this means to our family. And in the face of what's happening in the media, based upon the rarity of the situation, which is just frankly unimaginable, I just want to get my point across as best I can. And I knew Amber. I loved Amber. She, at some point, meant the absolute world to me. And despite everything that happened, I still need to speak, and I still need to say what needs to be said from my perspective. So, I didn't think that it would end this way. To recount the steps would be the endless toil to pull us all ever deeper into the mystery of unwarranted and unwanted death. I didn't think that it would end at all. Though on the 6th of February, 2023, the progress of a life still blooming was met with the finality of murder. Amber Lee Bradshaw is the mother of my firstborn child, Conrad Vincent Brock. And Amber was murdered by Nate Jackson. He's just a person that came out of nowhere. We all see the destruction of life on a daily basis, and yet the oldest bell still rings true, that there is nothing in life that can prepare you for the presence of death aside from when the presence of death itself moves through you. It seems to be a neutral force of nature, one that exists for the purpose of creation, one to nurture the other and vice versa. Though now, given the circumstances, my mind wrestles with the validity of that law. Through the exercise of human will, the color of the force of death changes. Right now I see red, and I only wish that I could have been there to help her. Now all of you know the basic facts about what happened to Amber, and a select few know the horrific details. The only one who doesn't know that Amber was murdered by someone that he considered to be, in the very least, his friend, is Conrad. And what drives the stake deeper into my heart is that Conrad was supposed to be there with her. To say it plainly, had Conrad been present at the time, he would be dead as well. He was supposed to spend the week with her. And the last that I heard from Amber, she was getting ready to clean up the house for him to come over. She had just recently moved in. One could argue that perhaps the last whisper of humanity left within Nate Jackson would have spared Conrad's life, but in turn, the seed of total psychological destruction would have forced its way into my son's psyche the same way the bullets forced their way through her body. Violent displacement and the total destruction of his innocence. In my opinion, it would have been a fate worse than death. And at this point, it's difficult to believe that Nate ever cultivated a sense of humanity within himself. And if he did, it was viciously consumed by the demonic mania which overtook his purpose in this life. Both of their bodies were found directly inside the doorway to the house. He shot her through the face several times before making a call to his father and confessing what he had done and ending his own life the same way that he stole hers away. I understand that these details are heart-wrenching and difficult to hear, difficult to acknowledge as reality, and unbearable in the prospect of the future. However, this is the truth of what happened to my co-creator, to Conrad's mother, and I will not pollute the truth and in turn her memory through the falsification or redaction of fundamental facts that constitute the reality which we all now endure. Our memory of her is what we carry with us like a torch through a long and darkened night. It is the resource she has given to us that we have in the effort to rebuild once the darkness has come and gone. And we bear this experience forevermore. And we are henceforth the keepers of her legacy in every imaginable capacity. I will not dishonor myself by slandering Nate, his family, or his history. I did not come here today to breathe life into raging fires of despair, which once created cannot be undone. Hatred is the only source of fuel for such things, and hatred is what brought this all about in the first place. We have to learn from history, lest it repeat itself and we find that we did nothing with the time that has been given to us. Amber was a remarkable human being. She was silly, she was fun, she was immensely intense, and she was deeply invested in what she decided was worth her time. She was passionate about the causes she supported, like not littering. She was our local zealous environmentalist. And trust me when I say, there were more times than I can count where she scolded me for letting loose a wrapper into the wind as she chased after it. A memory now that brings me so much comfort in the wake of her passing from this life and into the next. Amber loved her son. She cared about all the small things that I let slip by in terms of raising him. She had grand visions for the man that he will become. She took the best pictures of him, and she took the most pictures of him. It was important to her that she do her best to venerate and immortalize the moments she found beauty in, and to show the world the beauty of his existence. She always had a little plan to enact, or a little goal that she was seeking to achieve with Conrad. A lot of time has passed since those days, and we find ourselves here now. Amber is no longer with us in this world the way that she once was. We had just begun to work out a reasonable understanding of how to co-parent. We both had our own lives and we lived them. And the feeling of too little too late lingers on the edge of my every thought that wishes things could have culminated in a different way, with the result of her life still intact, in the very least. And we are doing the best we can. And while the community grieves in the wake of her death, in the words of my sister, my family prepares a precious little boy who loved his mother more than anything in this world, and for the biggest heartbreak that he will probably ever know. It's a big burden for such a small child, and there are no words to describe the evil that stole his mother from him. He will never hear her voice again, and he will never know the warmth of another embrace between the two of them. He will never see her eyes smiling back at him, and somehow he knows this already, even though he has yet to be told. However, I think that he will always recall deep in his heart the sound of her own as he was all cozy and warm in her belly for the 9 months that she carried him before she gave birth to him in this world. And that's the sacredness of our little one, our most beloved star, a light for us all in the darkest places of the world when all other lights go out. It's impossible to conceptualize the impact that this will have on his life. And so we have a responsibility to understand the nature of this tragedy and to make something more of it than simply another sensationalized news headline or the deepest of sorrows buried within our hearts. In moving forward through this dark night of the soul, I find it important to channel the essence of community into an educational foundation which will allow us to understand why this happened to her in the best way that we can. In doing so, we can all become more aware of what leads to this. We can all become teachers to those who may need a helping hand at times where they feel like they can only turn inwards upon themselves. We can open ourselves up to the utility of transparency, the strength of honesty, and the power of love as an animating force to protect the ones that we love. Murder-suicide is beyond exceedingly rare. None of us could have ever known that this was going to happen in the sense of absolute certainty, and we are at the mercy of our respect for the independence and free will of others when exploring our concerns for the well-being of potentially at-risk individuals, either inwardly or outwardly. We cannot arbitrate or dictate the actions of other people. We cannot clip their wings nor restrict their chosen path of flight, and we must be allowed to explore the unending beauty of our existence. So nobody could have known. The statistical probability that Amber would be the victim of a murder-suicide is less than 0.0001%. To place that into perspective, on average, the United States documents 600 of these events in total each year, leaving the death count at close to 1,200 in the event that the incident falls into the typology of intimate possessive, which is a way of understanding, which is a system developed to make sense of these specific situations. The chances are hardly even there. She hardly had a chance. There is no way that Amber could have foreseen this. She loved too hard. She always said that too. She was a domestic violence survivor, and survivors are incredibly strong. They find it best to simply endure in the hopes that things might just work out in the end. And she cared about Nate Jackson to the bitter end. There are things that we can do to refine our perceptual awareness of the environments or conditions where the overwhelming majority of these incidences occur, and it's our duty in honor of Amber's life. I have begun to imagine the differing pathways that this all could have played out in, a nightmarish landscape to explore mentally, I can assure you. But what I have found within it all is that Conrad, our son, is still alive. He lives on to learn, play, and grow another day, and for many years to come. Everything feels so different now. The sound of his voice has grown even softer on my mind. His laughs and thundering footsteps as he sprints through the house, living out the role of the hero that he truly is. His impressive and inquisitive nature, his incredible spiritual sensitivity, his high level of cognitive function, and his deep understanding of his own emotional maturity at the young age of only 5 years old. It is all exalted. It is all protected. It is all secured through Amber's sacrifice and her legacy. She truly did pay the ultimate price. God rest her soul. I give my greatest thanks and utmost gratitude for the gift and the treasure that she gave to us, our families. Now trust me when I say that Amber would have had choice words for me if I tied this all up by saying this was the end for her. So, is it the end? No. Her journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path, one that we all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world rolls back and all turns to silver glass, and then you see it. White shores and beyond. A far green country under a swift sunrise. And it is my knowing in that green country beneath the sunrise that her soul lives on, in the soil, in the flowers, and in the leaves, roots, and core of every tree, in the cool warmth of the coming spring breeze. Her voice will speak to you in the winds, and her laugh will rise in you like a morning sunrise. Conrad will know his mother through more than stories, memories, and photographs. He will know her through the presence of all of these things. She lives within our hearts, rent-free, as she would probably say. Conrad was named after Amber's favorite poet, Conrad Aiken. His story is as inspiring as it is tragic, and I will not delve into the horrors that he experienced as a child, but I will, in closing, leave you all with a poem from his mind, and it's titled Miracles. He goes on to say, Twilight is spacious. Near things in it seem far, and distant things seem near. Now in the green west hangs a yellow star, and now across old waters you may hear the profound gloom of bells among still trees, like a rolling of huge boulders beneath seas. Silent as though in evening contemplation weaves the bat under the gathering stars. Silent as dew, we seek new incarnation, meditate new avatars. In a clear dusk like this, Mary climbed up the hill to seek her son, to lower him down from the cross, and kiss the mauve wounds every one. Men with wings in the dusk walked softly after her. She did not see them, but may have felt the winnowed air around her stir. She did not see them, but she may have known why her son's body was light as a little stone. She may have guessed that other hands were there moving the watchful air. Now, unless persuaded by searching music, which suddenly opens the portals of the mind, we guess no angels, and are contented to be blind. Let us blow silver horns in the twilight, and lift our hearts to the yellow star and the green, to find perhaps, if while the dew is rising, clear things may not be seen. Thank you.